Welcome back to Relate Right.
I'm Elle.
And I'm Fab.
And here at Relate Right, we are all about relationships and helping you connect better with each other. Today, we are talking about reestablishing physical intimacy, what it can mean for your personal growth and the growth within your relationship.
And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to Relate Right and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. If you are finding this helpful, give us a like, drop a comment, and share it with someone who may need it. Let's go. So, did you hear that when you kiss during 6 seconds, you can increase your life time for 5 more years?
Yeah, I did hear that actually.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Like there was this German study as well that it wasn't even 6 seconds. It was like a peck on the cheek. So if you like kiss your wife every day before you go to work, you increase your life by 4 years. Old men increase their life by 4 years. So I can only imagine that 6 seconds increases it even more.
Even more, yeah.
But yeah, the interesting thing is that like lips are actually our most exposed erogenous zone. And they're connected to our brain, like a really large part of our brain. So when we do kiss, our brain actually lights up.
Yeah. Oxytocin.
Yeah, dopamine. Yeah, releases dopamine, oxytocin. So all the happy hormones get triggered.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel amazing. So yeah, kissing for 6 seconds, hugging for 20 seconds.
For 20 seconds, yeah.
Is enough to give you a good head start to the day.
Yeah. And when you hear about that, it seems like logic. It seems like just numbers. But if you think about just the definition that you just said, it's logic because it can be. You can have 5 more years, 6 more years. Maybe you can even have 10 more years. But why? It's because you release stress.
That's right.
Stress is a killer.
Exactly.
For stress can start any different type of disease.
Yeah.
Inside your body.
Yeah.
So, of course, when you are physically intimate, then your life became better.
Exactly.
Let's start this podcast.
And this is and funny you say that because your life does become better, especially if you view your life as foreplay. Right? Yeah. So life is foreplay. And it's we're not just talking about sexual foreplay.
No.
We're saying that every relationship needs to have foreplay. Don't stop the adventure. Don't stop the fun.
Yeah.
Don't stop the physical intimacy.
Yeah, because when we talk about reestablishing physical intimacy, we don't talk especially only about sex.
No.
If I had a percentage, I would say that sex it's 40%. 60% it's everything's around. That's what I feel.
Okay.
Before when I was younger, I would say it's 90% sex.
I remember when we first got together, we were like, people say that sex isn't important. It's the most important, blah, blah. We used to talk about that all the time.
Yeah. We used to talk about that.
But actually, our minds have shifted just like through the progress of our relationship and all the research that we do on relationships and speaking to other couples. And absolutely. Sex is important because it is a component of physical intimacy.
Yes.
But it's not the key to a long-lasting relationship.
And you're going to see why in this podcast, because we're going to talk later about the different way or I would say the different criteria who make you have better sex or not.
That's exactly right.
And you're going to see that around the sex area, if you don't do certain things who is around that we're going to talk about after, you won't have a good sex life.
Absolutely. There's actually so many things in your relationship that you have to get right in order to get that part right. So with that, what role does sex actually play in relationships?
So psychology today make a research and they realize that 50% of couples who have sex at least once a week are happier than the 40% other ones who doesn't.
Okay.
You know?
Right.
So again, it's logic, but there is thing behind it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I definitely think that having sex once a week also indicates, I would hope, that both parties want to have sex every week.
and that's why I want to argue about that as well.
Right.
Because I'm like, you can be the couple who have sex once every 2 weeks, for example, and be very happy and happier than the one who have sex maybe every week, but bad sex.
That's exactly right.
Because you can have bad sex every week.
You can have you can have bad sex every week. Yeah, just keep trying.
Yeah. When you don't understand each other, when maybe the woman doesn't want to talk and explain what she wants to the husband, or when the husband doesn't listen, the woman as well. But as that's how they are now, then they don't even try to change because they feel like it's their life, so.
Well, yeah, I definitely think that a lot of people have sex in relationships because they think they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the case. Like, I think a lot of the times both parties make assumptions. Women want to please their man, so they're, just saying yes. And then men, they think, well, they're not man enough if they don't do it. So I think, it can be argued whether or not that's the case. But at the end of the day, sex is a part of a long-lasting relationship. So the stats do make sense. You should be having some sort of physical intimacy, which may or may not lead to sex.
Good sex.
You
have to say.
Good
sex.
Yeah, I mean, good sex, it's relative, right?
That was good for you.
Right.
After you should feel happy.
Right.
Otherwise, it's not good.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of men and women disagree on what good sex is.
Yeah.
So I think in a relationship, I'm not talking about hookups. I think when you're hooking up, most people want the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? But when you're in a relationship, I think there is a little bit of a misunderstanding of what women want versus what men want. And a lot of hyper-masculine men don't want to cuddle, for example. They don't want to display these like soft touches and affection because they find it infantile. They find it childish. And because they aren't secure, or not necessarily secure, they haven't learned to be in touch with their emotions deeply. They find it quite unnecessary. Yeah. Whereas women crave that.
It's also the difference between men and women.
That's true.
Men need the physical touch or to be physical before to open themselves.
That's true.
So when a woman are waiting an emotional connection or even physical touch before the penetrative sex, they want to be touched. They want to maybe hear something, they need those action from their partner to also be 100% confident.
Yes.
And then you have a better sex life as well. So that's why when you talk about this, you have a misunderstanding between men and women.
Yeah.
And when you say masculine man doesn't want to cuddle, want, and because they don't know, because they don't feel that they need this.
Right.
And before to do that, they may be gonna do it after having sex. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah.
So when they finish on the bed, then they're gonna say, "Oh, baby."
Yeah.
I love you,
Yeah.
While the woman will be there and say, I was waiting for you to say that before. In our mind, for me to even do more than what we just did now.
Exactly.
Exactly. So always this misunderstanding between men and women that we talk about in previous podcasts as well. Mm-hmm. It's everywhere. It's in every layer of our relationship. There is a misunderstanding that we need to fix all the time.
It's
How crazy
very
it
true.
is.
It's very true. It's because we're conditioned in different ways from childhood to behave in different ways and to have different values, especially concerning sex and physical intimacy and emotional intimacy. So, but yes, you're absolutely right. Women require emotional safety, physical safety before having sex and before being fully comfortable with giving her body to her man. Now, you can have basic routine sex, sure. She might still agree to have sex with you, but like you said, it's not going to be good sex.
Yeah, it's not going to be good sex,
Right, but if you really want your woman to kind of give you all she's got, you got to work at it. It's not just, flick of the fingers and she does, whatever you command. So that's a myth. That's a myth.
Yeah, totally.
And also there was a study done across 24 countries and across 70,000 people. And it actually says that saying I love you every day and meaning it is extremely important. It actually says that 4% of couples who said they don't cuddle have great sex, which leaves 96% of couples who don't cuddle who don't have good sex. So you can see how cuddling is actually a key component to having good sex.
Yes. And it's, I think, when we talk about the effect of a kissing, cuddle, our skin is the same effect.
Exactly.
We just are not, for some people, are not aware about it.
Yeah.
But when you touch, when you cuddle, when you slowly touch the skin of your partner, you release as well the same thing that we just talked about before. So
it's like you just trigger the cascade of happy hormones.
Exactly. But you connect as well your body, your partner of your body together. You make ones by cuddling.
It's true.
You make one. It's not just because you have penetrative sex that you connect. You connect before that.
Funny you say that. We actually spoke about this because we're reading John Gottman and we thought this was quite interesting.
Yeah.
John Gottman said you don't actually have to have long romantic sex.
No, but of course,
right?
It's a myth as well.
It's a myth.
It's a myth that you have.
You can have as many quickies as you want.
Yeah.
As long as you are displaying physical intimacy in different ways. So like you said, like the caressing, the touching, the kissing, the hugging, all of that is vital to actually having good sex. And it's interesting because you can only have quickies when you do all that and still feel very physically intimate with each other.
And have a better result of people who say that they have long sex.
Yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, sex, touch, kiss, all of that stuff, it's an energy exchange. And whether it's triggering neurotransmitters or happy hormones, what it's actually doing is creating psychological safety for both parties.
Yes.
And when you have that, even something as simple as a kiss can feel quite erotic. So, like you said, at the end of the day, whether it's quick, whether it's long, physical intimacy encompasses an array of different actions, right? That's not just limited to penetrative sex.
Yeah.
So what do you think are the key reasons that sex diminishes in long-term relationships?
There is different reason. And, underlying issue and conflict lead to rejection. And this problem inside a relationship is some things that in generally you don't see it coming.
Yes.
And you nurture it since a while.
That's true.
Because you don't have this sentiment of rejection against your partner just after the first issue, or just after your first argument, You nurture those different problems. You continue to don't listen, both of you, to misunderstand, both of you, to have issues that you don't fix.
It's a build-up over time.
You don't fix those issues. You don't come back on them to be sure that we finally understand each other. We finally understand why it started. Now it starts to end it.
Yes.
You never do that. And then you start to reject your partner physically. You don't want to be touched. You don't want to have sex, but you're going to have sex.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking before.
But you also reject your partner emotionally, right?
Of course. You reject your partner emotionally first, and as you reject them, because, like I said before, sex, it's for me 40%.
Yeah.
And the 60%, of course, it's around.
Yeah.
You have the emotional part who is bigger for me.
Right.
Even if we say that it's bigger for women than men, but I feel like it's a big part as well for men. It's just we don't know how to listen to this emotional part of ourselves. It's very
subconscious.
Exactly. But when you lost this emotional affinity with your partner and you start to be in the rejecting mode, it's going to be hard to come back from this. Harder than if it was just physically,
right.
Because you can work on it. You can see it. You can feel, you know what to change.
Yes.
If you don't like some things, then let's change it. So that's what I feel. It's very dangerous. This rejection.
Well, it's extremely dangerous. Yeah. There's been so many times and so many couples I've seen, like, let's say the husband will be calling the wife and she'll just ignore him. Yeah. Like she doesn't hear him.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Yeah. Or, hey, come help me with this. And they take their sweet time. Or, hey, I need to tell you about my day. Oh, sorry, I'm busy right now.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And when you don't prioritize your partner, man or woman, they're going to feel hurt.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely a myth that men don't need emotional intimacy or all those other components of physical intimacy. Because the thing is, men actually seek other sexual partners when those things are not fulfilled as well.
Yeah.
It's just disguised as something else.
Yeah. You see, when you talk about looking for other partner, it's also because a man doesn't know how to work and doesn't even know how to feel.
That's true. Doesn't know how to express himself and express that he's, having an issue in the relationship.
Yeah. So when there is a problem in the sex area or the intimacy, I'm going to find someone who's going to give you what I want then.
It's also, I think, an ego thing,
Also, yeah.
It's also an ego thing. I think the other thing that men and women misunderstand each other on is talking about conflict. Yeah. And I think, research actually shows that women present issues in a relationship 80% of the time.
Okay.
Which for men might seem like, oh, she's nagging. Oh, she always has a problem, right? But where she's coming from is she grew up being a caretaker, being a nurturer, and part of her responsibility of taking care of the family is to point out the problems to solve them for the longevity of the relationship, right? But the way men view that is from, I think, an ego perception. And so they feel attacked. They feel like they're not good enough. They can't express themselves. They feel like she's nagging. They feel like she's not happy. Then they start to feel like they're not worthy. And so instead of fixing the problem, which is her intention, it actually creates a lot more of these underlying issues that you spoke about.
Yeah.
And a lot more tension and rejection.
Yeah. When you say that women are caretaker, and you said that they express the issue to find the solution. Some women doesn't know to express the issue very well because you feel that there is no solution. And as the man is focused more on the solution directly, that's what I feel as well. Not of the woman, the man is more practical,
Yeah.
He's gonna say that this thing is broke, I'm gonna do this and this,
Right.
But when the woman gonna see some things who's broke, she gonna watch around it as well.
Yes.
So that's why as well you create this clash and this misunderstanding between men and women.
Yeah.
It's not because it's men and women. It's because of our education.
Disconnect in the communication aspect.
Exactly. It's not because we are men and women.
Right.
That's a myth.
Yes.
To say that men and women, they will never understand each other.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. It's a myth.
Yeah.
If you come back to the first human, before all this bullshit, you're going to see that they were with each other and they understood each other.
Right.
And everyone was at the same place.
Yes.
And that's how I see that. When you talk about that, I see it more like it's not it's because of our education. It's more like how we view the life with each other, how we see life with each other. That's how we don't understand sometimes when our partner expresses to us a feeling, then we don't know how to receive this feeling because we don't view this problem as the same point of view, and then we think that she just want to have a problem, and then it's
funny because a woman will see a problem and say 1,000 words and say 1,000 things around it.
Yeah.
And it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal to her, but she just feels that she needs to explain it in all different ways, and she connects it to a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Whereas a man will offer a simple solution.
Yeah.
Or may not even understand the point of it, to be fair.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that automatically creates an issue. But that solutions-focused mindset is actually exactly what you need in a relationship.
Yeah.
Because research also shows that how you resolve conflict determines the longevity of your relationship. So
100.
if you repair conflict, you're more likely to stay together. But if you're constantly blaming each other, if you're constantly disagreeing and saying, hey, that's your fault. No, it's, you did that. And you don't do this and you never listen to me and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Obviously, you're just going to go down a rabbit hole of resentment.
You can be partner and be in war constantly.
I think that happens a lot.
You can be partner, I would say it again, and be in war constantly.
Right.
That is when you don't know how to resolve conflict. Because all the time that you have a conflict, it's who is right, who is wrong.
Right.
Who did it again? Who start? Why? Blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. I can continue. But at the end, none of you, because sometimes you need one.
Yeah.
You're not gonna shift your mindset at the same time. Sometimes in some argue,
of course.
Because sometimes you're more hungry than your partner.
Yeah.
So it's your turn to say, okay. Let me come back and say, okay, let's find a solution.
Right.
And then your partner will come with you.
Yeah.
So if both of you are in war constantly, nothing's gonna change. Everything's gonna explode.
Yeah.
And you're gonna kill each other. You know what I mean?
I think the most important thing to remember is that when you're in conflict with your partner, you need to remember to talk to them like you're talking to someone you actually love. Because you do love them.
Yeah.
And when we're angry, we forget to do that. We forget that we're talking to a person we love. Everything is coming from ego.
Yeah.
And you need to put that aside. I mean, I've been there. You know, like we've all been there.
We've been there too.
So it's not always easy to step outside of yourself and your immediate need to be right.
But to add to that, remember that this relationship, it's bigger than you and your partner.
It's true.
That's why you need to understand.
Right.
When you argue, when you are angry against your partner, when you have something like that, remember that you and your partner build this relation who's just next to you, in the middle.
Yeah.
Do you want to break it?
No.
So face
or maybe sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do. But if you don't want to break it, if you know what is on the line, if you value your relationship, it's gonna be easier to remember that, and all the time say, wait, listen, it's not about us, it's not about me, it's about the relationship.
What's the best solution for our relationship? Yeah,
exactly. So what's the best solution for the relationship, not for me now,
right?
Not for us. When you think about that, I think it's better for you to sometime, even if you're angry, come back to your own self, to yourself, before to be angry.
The other thing that I think is really, really important on top of what you just said is I laugh because, you know, now that I'm pregnant, there's definitely a little bit more small conflict that is initiated by yours truly.
2 years in a row.
Luckily, I have a very patient man.
Yeah.
But the best thing I've read lately is that conflict doesn't mean a bad relationship.
No.
Lots of conflict even doesn't mean a bad relationship. Mm-hmm. As long as you're not blaming each other, as long as you're prioritizing your relationship, as long as you find a resolution. It is draining. It can be quite disruptive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And nobody likes to be in a constant state of conflict. It's shit.
Yeah.
Okay? It messes up your whole day, your vibe, right?
Your vibe, your whole month. I mean, you can.
Okay, babe. Okay.
You know what?
No, but seriously.
Yeah. I'll let you finish.
No, that's just my point. My point is that it's not forever. It's temporary, and it's all about how you actually handle it, how you repair it, how you love each other, and how you discuss it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not superhuman to completely not have emotions during the argument and be completely logical.
Of course.
No, of course not. We have to have some emotion in it, and that shows that we care.
And yeah.
But that's just my point.
But the last thing as well I want to say, never forget as well, and that's why we talk about this now. Never forget that when you're arguing, why are you laughing?
I feel like there's like this advice about to come to me.
No. I mean, it's for us always.
Okay.
For us, this community. When you're arguing and you have a problem, this problem may come back during your whole life. You will never be able to solve it.
Yeah.
You'll never be able to solve it.
Is that called perpetual arguments that never go away?
That never go away.
Yeah.
So you better learn how to resolve conflict at the moment, because otherwise it's gonna be bloody.
All right. The second reason why sex diminishes is lack of affection.
Lack of affection.
We spoke about it. We just spoke. You know what that means.
We spoke about it. I mean, lack of affection can so many different things.
Yeah.
Hey, babe, just that.
Right. Imagine you're like, don't touch me.
You know, or also outside. Outside. When you are outside, we can feel it as well. Sometimes I like, as we are doing that now, I like to observe sometimes. Not like a creep. But I like to observe.
For research purposes.
For research purposes.
Yes.
I watch a couple and I see a man who is very far away from her wife or
his
partner.
wife, yeah.
And he go in, he don't even take the door. I don't say that you have to take the door all the time, but you know what I mean. It's just logic. He go in, so he's so far away. So he entry somewhere before his wife. His wife had to open the door behind it, and in my head I'm like, they just had an argue.
Because there's no consideration.
This is like of intimacy, for example.
For sure.
When you are outside as well, I like to talk about outside because people who touch each other when they are outside without even thinking about the people around them. I don't say that you have to, but I talk about like you're together, we are doing that, you know, we don't care. I like to do that to my wife, you know, I like to do that, you know, I don't care, you know, I like to do that, you know. You can have a kiss as well, you know. All when you do that, it's mean that your intimacy, it's amazing.
Exactly.
It means like you are in your world. You're safe emotionally.
True.
You're safe emotionally. When you're safe inside, outside you don't care about what's happened.
It's true.
Because you're safe. When you're together, you're in your world.
Exactly.
People can watch. That's okay. You know? And people who don't do it contrarily, you know that something's missing.
I always remember that clip when Trump was president and he just like left Melania when I think it was like he exited the airplane or something, and he just like left her to struggle by herself. Oh, it was raining or something. I don't know, but I just remember that moment where she's just like standing there looking at him like this idiot.
I mean, you're talking about Trump. So
I know. But it's like, it always ingrained in my mind because I'm just like, like you can...
I mean, you can just watch...
The world is watching.
I mean, you can just watch her generally behind him, and she's like...
I know.
I mean, you can see that
That's true.
poor life. You can have the money that you want.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
There is no affection or emotional safety there. Probably not even psychological.
Exactly. Lack of emotional intimacy.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, lack of affection also happens when you have kids.
Wow.
Because you don't want to.
This is another chapter of your life.
Yeah.
There is the chapter when you don't have kids, and there is another chapter when you have kids.
Yeah.
How many couples break?
That's true.
Because of the new life they have with a child.
Yeah.
A lot. I would love to. I didn't find the statistic of this.
No, but research does show that sex goes down dramatically even 3 years after the first baby is born.
Yeah.
So I don't have like the percentage of how much it goes down by, but it's pretty significant.
And your wife just give birth.
Yeah.
You know how is it when you have child? You don't sleep. You're tired. You have to work. Sometimes your partner was the first and most important thing in your life, became the last. Because before, you put your child, your work, your sleep time, you know, the recovery, to go back to work, the life, everything's passed before your partner.
Yeah.
But when you do that during 3 years, like we said, you have underlying issues.
That's right. And you actually touched on the last two, changing priorities and routine.
Exactly.
So they're all kind of tied together. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's very hard to come back from this.
Yeah.
That's why people, 3 years, they break up.
Sometimes it's even before that, but
Before,
3 years
of course,
is 3 years for sure. Because the thing is, I think when you become a mother, mothers often forget their husbands. They don't prioritize their husbands; they prioritize their child. They don't even prioritize themselves, and that's very difficult to say. Hey, you have to remember that you come first, and then your husband and the baby. But it's it doesn't always work like that. The baby needs both of you. The baby can't even feed itself. It can't walk, can't do nothing. So you both have to put yourself first and then the baby, because that's the only way that your relationship will survive. You just have to have a lot of empathy for each other. And I think previously, when you lived in communities, there wasn't so much pressure on the husband to give the empathy and the help and all of that stuff. Whereas now that we live in this culture where we're very individualistic and couples often are just alone in a city with not much family around, they both heavily and only rely on each other for every type of comfort and every kind of help and affection and empathy in that most vulnerable state and chapter of their life. So it's a heavy burden, especially if you're not solid before having the child.
Yeah, I like to say that as well. A lot of people talk about those problems that you have when you start to become a parent, but they don't talk about that all those I would say most of those problems come from this system.
Yes.
Again.
Yeah.
Again. They don't like to talk about that, but when you work, when life is expensive,
right,
when you have your rent, or you buy a house, when you have your interest rate, and blah, 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 and all these things will come with, it's very hard to mix your life with the newborn, with your wife, with your husband. Sometimes wife have to come back to work just 3 months after giving birth. You have to come back to work. Let your child in the hand of other people that you don't even know, but you pay for it as well. It's expensive, but you still need to continue. So it's just a circle. The system doesn't give you the time to adjust your new life, to embrace your new life. The system doesn't give you the time. So people who got money and people who prepare themselves for this and are able to don't go to work during a certain amount of time will handle this situation better than someone who's have the pressure of this society.
I completely agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People don't talk about this as well. They just talk about, it's really hard because they just argue all the time. But there is factor.
Of course, there's survival factors that are at play here.
Yeah.
And again, you're in the most vulnerable state in your life. And the other part that the culture plays in this is not preparing men to be compassionate to the situation. I think what happens is a lot of men actually still want to have sex, still want to be intimate. The woman is at home doing everything with the baby. It's not easy, breastfeeding, still recovering hormonally, emotionally, physically, mentally, all of these things. Her husband is most likely working. He's coming home still expecting a beautiful meal, a beautiful woman, a happy woman, not stressed, still expecting physical intimacy. He's just expecting to receive, not really giving her that emotional and psychological support that makes her want to be intimate. And I think a lot of the times when in these situations when women are having sex with their man, half the time they're just thinking about all the shit that they have to get done. So they're not into it.
So not into it. And you know why as well? Again, we minimize the importance of the work that the women have to do. With the newborn or the new situation. So that's why when I say we, I talk about men. So that's why some of us, because some men understand this, some of us doesn't understand that when you have a newborn, you also have to give to your partner what you want to receive.
1,000%.
You know what I mean?
I've heard men say to their women, "You're on vacation. I'm so jealous. You're on vacation." What are you talking about? I am taking care of a human being for the first time in my life. I've literally sacrificed every part of me, every part of me, for you and this family. But you're telling me I'm on vacation? Like, those type of statements, that type of lack of understanding really leads to some critical issues in a relationship.
And when I say we minimize, the whole society and our education as a man minimize the work of women. But let me give you a tips for this type of problem. One day, you take your man and you leave them with the child the whole day, and you come back at night to see how he handled it. And then you give him the same thing and you say, let's now see how was your day.
Okay, but you see, I second your tip. One thing I will say though, expect none of the bottles to be washed. Nothing to be cleaned. Expect chaos. And he might just tell you that he's done a great job because all he did was take care of the kid. You know what I mean?
I'm sure.
I don't know.
If it's the man that you describe, if it's this type of man will tell you like you're on vacation, you ask him, how was your vacation?
You
ask him.
Did you have a great time?
You ask him. He won't lie because
you have a great time with your kid.
Of course, of course.
It's not easy work.
It's not an easy work. That's what I want to say. It's not easy, you know?
Right. All right. Well, what advice would you give couples to have better sex in a relationship?
Listen to the first part of the podcast.
For men specifically.
One big advice for men is to learn what your woman is feeling, even what she like, what she want. You know, it's guidance. It's gonna help you.
Right.
So you have to seek for guidance.
Okay.
It's gonna help you. It's not because it's your partner that you know everything from her and you don't have to learn anything anymore because it's your partner, because you're with her since 5, 10, 6, I don't know how many years. We always learn. We always change. Another thing is create a safe place. A safe place for talking. A safe place for expressing themselves. You know how many women are scared to express themselves in terms of sex and to say what they like to their men because they feel like their men first don't even gonna understand it and will judge it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But for the men, it's easy for them to say what they want. They are raised to do that.
Right.
Oh, I want you to do that. Oh, I want you to do that. Even at the moment when they are doing sex, they say it.
Right.
You know, they ask for things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Women never do that. Rarely. So you need to create this safe environment. Put your ego away. Never judge. And talk about sex. But
like even outside of the bedroom.
Outside of the bedroom first. Never talk about these type of things when you are doing it. Never talk about this when you are doing it. Never. You should not ask it directly because you can just kill the vibes. You know? So you should asking after, before.
Right.
You know, like that. When you're gonna start, you will start with guidance.
Right. Do you think men really want guidance?
When I was researching, I saw that, but I'm like, I ask myself. Certain men, of course, ask for guidance. But most of men, I would say, assume that they already know.
It's just so interesting to me because I think a lot of men say certain things like, I want guidance, I want to please you, things like that. But then when you give it to them, when you give them guidance or what they perceive as criticism, they don't actually want it. They
judge it. They judge.
They judge it, but they also, I feel, think they know what you want better than you. You know, it's egotistical. That's what I mean.
You know, because when you are a man, you're like, I'm good at sex. I'm good at pleasing my woman. You know, when in their mind, that's what they say. That's how they say to themselves. You know, they have this in their mind, and they are sure about that.
Right.
And then the woman say, you know, when you do that, I really don't like it.
Right.
You know, when you touch me like that, that's not how you should do it.
Right.
You know, when you do that with your tongue, that's not how you should do it. I know what I'm talking about. All of this. Then, you play with the ego.
Yeah, absolutely.
You play with the ego. It's hard for a man to say, oh,
right.
shit, all the things that I was doing since all that, oh, shit. You know, so that's why I see that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think men take it like, oh wow, I've been wrong my whole life. No, man, like everybody likes different things, and people change the things that they like. You know, and so I think when you're discussing sex outside of the bedroom, you actually can connect on a deeper level. Like sometimes it feels better to be physically intimate than emotionally intimate. Like it's easier to have sex and be vulnerable during sex than to be vulnerable during a conversation.
It is easier to be naked physically than naked emotionally. That's how it is.
Right.
And then when you talk about sex for real, like we just said before, you know what's happened? Your vulnerability go to another level.
It's true.
You need to be vulnerable when you're in a relationship. It's very important. Your truth. Your true self.
But talking about sex is so awkward for most people. And like, especially women, like as a woman, nobody ever asks you, what do you like? And then to even say it to your man can feel like really embarrassing or shameful, or even just like, not even to your man, just even kind of thinking about what you like and then verbalizing it. It's very difficult to do that.
It's difficult because we know how the education has been in the past. You know that even to say that, even for a woman to say that I like to be touched this way, is gonna, if you say that, you're gonna look like a type of girl.
That's true.
Certain type of girl.
But that's my other thing. My girlfriends and I have talked about this many times, and it's funny because a lot of women think that men want this promiscuous behavior in the bedroom, like very kinky, wild sexual things, right? But then when it comes to their wife, they don't want her to do that because as much as they might enjoy it in the moment, later on, their mind is going like, oh, where'd she do that? Where did she learn that? Why does she like that? You know, and their mind starts to go somewhere else. So it's like a lot of the times they want that in their fantasy or maybe from even somebody else, but not necessarily from their woman.
I call it it's come from, and that's how I call it, the toxic position mindset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because when you say that you like to do kinky thing in the bed and you're happy to say it to your wife, soon as your wife tell you that, you start to judge. And you start to judge in the toxic way. I don't know if there is a good way to judge. But
not really.
But you make it very toxic because what you think about, you start to make assumption of her past.
Right.
And relate the past to what's happened now.
Exactly.
So also you make movie in your head because of this position, like it's mine.
Right.
It's mine. And she learned this, or she liked this, or she make it with another man. Why she asked me that now? You know?
But no, but the thing that I actually think about a lot is like, why don't men ever assume that, wow, I made my wife feel so psychologically, emotionally, and physically safe that she is able to express her sexual desires so freely and reserves that behavior for me in our bedroom. Why don't you ever think that? Just because she did something wild for you doesn't mean she did it before.
You see?
And just because she learned that she actually enjoys that because you've created this environment, why is your mind going to all these other places when you already should know that this is your woman?
You see, when
you inspired it.
When you ask this question as a woman like that, why don't you think like that? It's because you, as a woman, emotionally, you already in your lifetime, you know how to sometimes take a step back and listen.
Right.
You know, for different reasons.
Right.
So of course, when it's gonna come to this topic, when you talk about sex, you're gonna be able to listen, you know? And of course, you are used to it more often than men.
Yeah.
So when you talk about sex, and you talk like that with a man, first, even his own emotion, he don't listen and he don't want to hear them. So imagine when you talk about sex with a very, like you say, for some people, strange topic to talk about.
Yeah.
When your woman talk about sex like that openly, they're gonna feel like they're gonna be the defensive mode. Because something scary.
It is.
When you don't know some things and you don't know how to process them, it becomes scary.
Well, especially when it's not in the bedroom.
Yeah.
It does become like, maybe it becomes like it feels too serious, maybe? I don't know.
It feels too serious, but I feel like it's become scary because you don't know how to process it.
Right.
You know, and you never have a woman who talk to you about it, to say the truth to you about herself and what she feel and what she like and what she want, you know?
Yeah.
So when it's the first time you never hear that, you're like, oh shit, what the hell?
Right.
You know? And after
take offense.
people react differently. It depends on their ego and whatever.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because you told me earlier that 70% of people ask for sex indirectly.
Yeah.
Because they're afraid of being rejected from their partners.
You know how painful it is?
But that's actually crazy to me.
But you know how painful it is again?
I do actually.
You know. Yeah. We all know. When you... I don't know. I feel like, you know, when you're excited...
Yeah.
When you start to have this... You want to have sex... Just this effect, just this moment, you are vulnerable.
Absolutely.
It's a vulnerable moment.
Absolutely.
So when you shut you down, you take it personally. And then it feels like rejection.
Yes.
Like more than any type of rejection.
Yeah.
You know? So from your partner, it's even more because you take it personally. Think that we shouldn't do because we are not at the same moment. It's not all the time. You don't want sex at the same moment, at the same time, all the time.
Right.
You know? And that's why I say you shouldn't take it personally all the time, but it's very hard to do because you need to work on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody who just like says to their partner, hey, let's go have sex now.
No.
You know what I mean?
Babe, it's not just about that. When they start to touch,
and
you see that there is no answer, it's already a rejection. It's already a no.
Right.
When you touch like that and you start and she turned by the other side, you understand that she don't want. It's already a no.
Right.
You know.
But I mean, it's just consent, right? Like.
Yeah, but I feel like this type of rejection, it's even worse than the word like, oh babe, sorry, I don't want to have sex now, you know? It's even
because you can assume all these different things that's usually not
exactly
what the reason is.
So when you just turn and you just don't answer the touch or whatever, it's even harder.
Right.
You reject it, you make movie in your head, assumption, whatever.
Well, hard. You start to feel like they don't want you. You start to think like, oh my God, am I not attractive? Do I not make them happy? Do they have someone else? Like you start thinking all types of stuff. You start going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
It creates a bigger distance.
And don't forget, people come from other relationships in general.
That's true.
And have trauma from those things because when the relationship doesn't go very well, you have those type of moments. You have this type of moment and you remember them. So that's why I feel like people start by an indirect strategy to ask for sex.
But I do think, and this is my piece of advice, when you do get rejected, you should try not to take it personally and try to understand where it's coming from, because a lot of the times it's not personal. And especially, again, for women, we need to be physically, emotionally aligned. Yeah, exactly. In order to want to have sex, we need to have things done in our house. It's crazy. In order to want to have sex, we need to be physically well.
Yeah.
And it a lot of the times has nothing to do with you. But what you can do to help is, one, not get mad, but two, make our burden easier.
Ask question.
Right. Ask question. How can I help? Yeah. Wash the dishes even.
No, but I'm agree with you. Even okay, you don't want that's okay. No worries. What do you want instead of this?
Right.
Do you want to watch a movie? Do you want to go out? Do you want to do another things?
Right.
If she don't want to do that now, it's because she want to do another things.
Right.
So ask question. Don't be scared to ask question.
That's actually so true, because checking on your partner's like emotional state can actually help your sex life flourish.
Yeah.
That is so true, because when you check in and you look for those bits of affection, and you receive those small, I guess, oxytocin bursts, it will lead up to a moment where she will be like, yeah, absolutely, let's get it on.
You're right.
No, but like, and the other thing I think that's really, really important is just like not putting pressure on each other to have sex all the time.
Yeah.
Like you like to be like, oh yeah, we need to have sex 2 times a week.
It's a good recipe for failure.
Absolutely. There's going to be moments in your life when you don't have sex for a month. It could be health, it could be anything, but that does not mean that you are not physically intimate or that you cannot maintain your physical intimacy.
Exactly. That's why I said, you see, if you are in this podcast and you are already at this moment, you listen that we talk about sex, but we talk about a lot of things around. And that's the 60% that I was talking before.
Right.
And that's why I'm like, the pressure that you put on your partner and on yourself, on your relationship about sex, it's also a part of your foundation. If you create your foundation based on the sex that you had when you start your relation, you're never gonna last.
Right.
When you start your relation, you are probably younger. When you start your relation, you are probably single, of course.
So you would hope so.
So you had more time.
Yeah.
When you start your relation, you had no child.
Right.
I can continue like that. You have parameters that you didn't have now.
That's exactly right.
So if you think that sex life never gonna change, failure is your next window, it's at the next corner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, be sure that your relationship is not based on
that's exactly right.
How many times you do sex by day, by months, by week. No. Be sure that you and your partner are intimately close.
Exactly.
Close enough to be secure.
Yes.
Close enough to be secure even when there is no sex. Because you're touching, you're cuddling, you're together, you're watching movie, you feel well, you feel safe. You need to watch for this first.
Exactly. And just one thing, establish what's normal for you guys. If both of you are happy to be intimate less frequently, then that's fine.
Well, what's wrong for you is the normal.
Right. What works for you is fine.
Yeah.
There should be no comparisons, no pressure. I mean, you'll have friends who just got in a relationship who have sex like bunnies, know? And you might be like, oh my God, they're having sex every day, twice a day, and I'm not, and my relationship sucks. Stop it.
Don't forget people
compare.
lie. Also.
There is that. But also
people lie a lot.
That's the chapter they're in.
Exactly.
They're in their sex chapter. You're in your other chapter. And your normal will shift over time.
Yeah. And don't forget, you can have one quickies every 2 weeks, whatever.
For real.
And have better sex in just one quickies than 5 long sessions in 1 week.
Right.
Because of what's happened around.
That's exactly right. Area. I don't know who's having 5 long sessions. These people must not work.
Yeah, probably on top of it. But because you work on those 60% that we talk about,
exactly,
your quickies will be way more powerful.
There you go. On that note,
that's a wrap.
This is how you reestablish physical intimacy.
Yeah. You hear me? You feel me? I know, maybe not you feel me.
Yeah, it's all good. Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with someone who could benefit. Tune in to our next episode. You will not want to miss it.
And until next time, fam, take care and nurture your relationships.
Relate right.